Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Not Another Tooling podcast with myself, Austin Pearson, and my co host, Mr. Matt Malcolm. How are you today, Matt?
I'm good. I'm good today. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. I'm doing very well, thank you.
You'd almost
Uh,
think we haven't spoken to each other already.
I know, I know. Um, today we wanted to do something a little bit different and introduce you to us. We're very appreciative of you all listening and engaging with the podcast. But I want to tell you a little bit more about where we've come from, who we are as people, and why you should continue to engage with us because we've done a fair amount in our IT-based lives. And I was thinking about mine yesterday and thinking, crikey, this will be my 24th year in this space, which is a fair amount of time. Obviously, I started in my mother's womb,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I wish, I wish. So, Matt, how did you come to get into IT? Did you do a degree and then just get straight into IT? Or
Does anyone plan to go, maybe these days, but did anyone in our time plan to go into IT? I didn't meet many of those folks.
I definitely didn't, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
So
did
that,
you actually, let's start with a different question. What did you want to be when you grew up?
originally wanted to fly fast jets.
Nice.
So I was all set to plan to join the RAF was the intention. Did the air cadets, did all the bits and pieces there, flew little tutor planes. But yeah, I wanted to fly. And then I went to a careers office one day and the RAF guy wasn't in. But there was an army guy in and he told me, oh, don't fly fast jets. You want to fly helicopters in the Army Air Corps, do that. So I started having that conversation and then didn't end up flying helicopters. So yeah, wanted to fly.
Nice, nice. So how did you end up in getting from there to being in IT then?
Semi-accidentally. So I was in the army, did join in the end. Communications, not for the IT purposes, just because that was a logical space for me to go into. And then whilst I was away on tour, I started to work with what was back then the IS engineers team. I'm not sure what it is these days. Basically, it was the technology IT type people at the time in the corps I was in. So I started to do basic IT stuff. My job for several months in the desert was antivirus. So that was probably my introduction to IT was
Wow.
installing antivirus installed on a pen drive, going around all the standalone machines, making sure the antivirus updates were on them, and then rebuilding PCs, which basically meant if a reboot didn't work, we just threw it away and we got a new one. So that was my introduction to IT was in the desert, antivirus and doing reinstalls.
But and it's funny, isn't it? Because I was just thinking then, oh, you were in the army. All right, so you're running around, you know, training to shoot people and all that sort of thing. But actually, you were installing antivirus.
Yeah, I know, let me add the edge. So there was this story. I say no stories. This happened. I was first on shift that day. Can't remember why, but I was. And we used to work with the officers a lot, where my kind of roles and my makeup. So we was always on the HQs a lot of the time. Quite nice settings compared to literally out in the desert. So I came in, it was a Corymec building, and we're in the Corymec building, and I just heard this whistle like in the background. I was like, "What was that?" And then I heard a really, really faint like. My first point of call was looking at my watch because at certain times in the day there'd be controlled explosions that would take place. Like so, I was looked and thought it's bang in the middle of when these controlled explosions would be. And then a second or so later, I heard a very, very loud whistle, like quite loud, and then an explosion must have been not far away that basically rocked the building. And you remember like those polystyrene ceilings with strip lights, the plastic strip lights. That was what it was. So those polystyrene things all come shaking down, dust coming out the ceiling, lights fall down, and I had my armor on at the time, but not on, just open, and my helmet tagged to me, and I was inside the building. I was like straight on, what the hell's going on? And it turned out a mortar. We used to get mortared every on and off every other day, I think it was. It landed, and it was far away. It was almost 100 meters away, maybe a bit less, 70 meters maybe. but it felt like it was there. And it took a big hole in the ground, big crater. But the point being of this is I went there to do my IT stuff for the day, antivirus and to rebuild some PCs, and then mortars landing, so many meters away. So yeah, there was a bit of running around and that sort of stuff as well.
Crazy, crazy. So what happened after you left the army then? Did you were like, I'm so excited. I want to leave the army and go into IT because it's super
No,
interesting.
actually, originally I was planning to retrade in munitions. I wanted to do bomb disposal. That was what I was actively transferring to. I did some work with them when I was on tour. So that was my plan. And then I got promoted whilst I was away. And then I was home much more often as well. All these factors took place where I was home more often. So then I was like, maybe I don't transfer, maybe I just leave because I was enjoying being at home so much. Because when you're overseas, when you're certainly back in the day when Germany was so proliferated with UK soldiers, you'd only go home every few months anyway, just the way it was. But when I went on tour and then subsequently came back, you can be at home much more often. So that bug to come home was like there. So that was a decision to move away. And the first point of call was I've had a stab at this IT stuff. Doesn't look so complex, albeit the very basic function of it. So I called my dad at the time, who was quite mature in IT. Lotus Notes was his background, if you remember that. And I was like, what shall I do? He recommended some courses, found some courses, used my learning credits to do the courses, and then basically left with a security clearance and these courses. And somebody took me on. It was Northrop Grumman I worked with at the beginning, and I worked their help desk. Remedy was the first tool. I was a consumer of Remedy. I don't know what version it was, but it was really old back in the day. But yeah, so I didn't plan. It was all just, what should I do? I'm going to leave. I did some IT, did the courses, and then fell into my first IT role, which then just snowballed in terms of where we are now.
Nice. So what do you do now?
Right now, I'm talking to you now, Jackin. Right now, very far removed away from the hands-on. So I've gone through the life cycle, I suppose, of consuming the products, administering them, consulting, implementing, designing. Now it's more steps back and advising. So don't do that, do this. That would be good to do. What about this? Have you thought about that? And don't generally get involved in the hands-on stuff these days. So it's more sitting back's the wrong terminology, but taking a step back and making sure the right decisions are made, or at least bringing the decisions as options to the stakeholders and work with to be made across various capabilities.
Nice. Wonderful. Okay. And then outside of work, you got kids. What are you interested in?
Yeah, kids, 4 of them. So we're now on 3, 5, 8, and 11.
Okay, so you don't have time to do anything else then.
Yeah, other than that, I love DIY, man. That's a passion. I wish I had more time to do DIY. I think the last big job I did was on bathrooms a while ago now. I've got other stuff to do. But if I could just spend my day doing something, it would be DIY. On that board there, that's one of the latest projects. It's a commercial building. When we first looked to take that on, I was genuinely thinking I'll do a load of this myself, and then just unrealistic with time and capacity. But love DIY. So I'd spend time doing that. Other than that, I haven't really got many more hobbies. I do stuff passively, but I say like working, that's wrong. I like that side of stuff. Not just IT, other things as well, versus just a ride bike hobby or something like that, personally for myself.
Pretty fit though as well. You always seem to be on your
Yeah, I
LinkedIn.
wouldn't even say it's a hobby. That's almost like just got to. You got to. Those years ago, I was on the bus, and I wasn't in the best shape. I wasn't terrible. I've never been bad. Not like big in myself, just like naturally my body doesn't. But I was definitely carrying more weight. And I was on a bus. I haven't caught a bus in years, and my chest was like wobbling. I was like, what the hell, man? What the hell is this? And then since then, I've just got this fear, I think, for like not wanting to gain so much. So I don't think it's I'm doing the fitness and stuff and things that I do for fun. None of that shit is for fun in reality. I'm doing it because I don't want to be sitting on the bus with my chest wobbling, personally. Yeah.
Good shout. And last question is, if you were stuck on a desert island, you had one album, what would the album be?
Oh wow. Yeah, that was a question. So my very first album was which I listen to it still now when I'm working out and stuff, is OPM, Menace to Sobriety or Society. That was on my first album, and it's got the right kind of mix of songs in there, which I think I could just get on with. Some couple of chill out or less calm ones, some violently aggressive ones with lots of expletives. But I'd say that'd be the easy go-to one. There's other songs and other stuff like that, but OPM, Menace to Society, I'll listen to it often now as well.
Nice. I'm quite enjoying this podcast. Maybe we might add a question in at the end of all of our podcasts or the beginning. I don't know, to get a bit more insight into each other's lives.
I suppose I've never told you a lot of stuff ever. So, although we did speak about not long ago, OPM, I remember.
We did.
But
Did. Yes. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I guess for me, I wanted to be a rock star when I grew up, for sure.
Never too old. I saw something on the news the other day, maybe. I don't know the artist's name, but he's 38 or 40 something, and he's just got Newcomer of the Year award or something. So never too old, man. You could just
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I still play. I play in a covers band. I love it. It's definitely a passion of mine for sure. But I ended up I went to music college, realized it was almost impossible to get into the industry, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, do you want to come and work in my dad's washing machine shop, selling washing machines?" And it was just easy options. So I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, do that." Found I was quite good at the technical side of learning what they all did, versus if you went to Curry's and they were just went, "Do you want a white one or a silver one?" I'd be like, right, actually, I knew the stuff inside out and backwards. Got poached by the competition, and the competition was a bit bigger. They had two shops and a warehouse. And after a few months of being there, I said, "You really need an IT system." Bearing in mind, this is a long time ago. I'm not even going to tell you how long ago it was, but where everything was written down. They didn't have a computer system, so I helped them pick and install a computer system and get it up and running and all that good stuff. And I thought, you know what, I'm quite enjoying this. And I just saw an advert in the paper for IBM.
In the paper. Wow.
I know.
So you got a job with IBM through the paper.
Yep, through the local paper. Yeah.
What was the advert?
It was just in the job section, advertising for telesales reps. For IBM down in what was their headquarters in North Harbour near Portsmouth at the time. And I thought I probably won't have a chance in hell, because at the time IBM were pretty much the only name in IT. But I got the job, and I had a lot of fun working. It was a great introduction to IT, really, because I had like 3 years where I sold everything IBM had on the truck, from PCs to they just bought PwC Consulting at that time. So you might be selling a kind of outsourced procurement function or something like that. So it's crazy good stuff. And then I ended up getting into moving, after being a client director for a while, being getting into the Tivoli world. So monitoring, ITSM, security, backup, all of that stuff.
Still selling.
Yeah. For 16 years, I think it was, at IBM. Ended up running one of their software products across Europe. It was good fun, but there were a load of changes happening. So I left there, took a year out, did a bit of entrepreneurial type stuff, got super fit and all that good stuff. And then somebody called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to try this other much smaller pre-IPO vendor?" And I've been on that journey with them. I run their financial services and insurance division across EMEA. I've been on that journey with them for almost 6 years now. Seen them grow into a sort of pre-IPO sort of like unicorn business. And yeah, it's very exciting. So yeah, but I'm on the vendor side, so it's good. I think one of our there's a good balance on our podcast, right? You would absolutely represent the customer side, and I represent the vendor sides, and we see it from different ways. One thing I really love about the vendor side is that I get to engage with so many different clients.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You're not on a single project for any time. I could be talking to 10 different clients in a single week,
Yeah.
and getting all of their different views and seeing everything that's happening. So I see the good, the bad, and the ugly every week.
Yeah, that is a good benefit of consulting. You get this broad spectrum of stuff. Yeah, you don't get to go as deep all the time, but then having many conversations to understand what the landscape is saying is better than being really deep in one. Not all the cases, but a lot of cases. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely see who's doing things well and who isn't, and see where all the big problems are and what the commonalities are and things like that. And most organizations not really that different. The only place I think that are different is public sector, because it's a much lower pace than anything else. But all other organizations, if you're talking about tooling, whether it's a hospital or an insurer or a retailer or whatever, they've all got pretty much the same
I'd
challenge.
say so as well. I think over the years, you'll definitely appreciate the phrase like we're unique. And I think at a business level, yeah, man, like you are, like it's your brand, your company, the way you operate. I'm sure you're unique to your competitors as well. But from a capability point of view, you still got to move that widget to that side and this up there and down. Like the functionality of what you're trying to achieve from a tooling perspective is rarely unique enough it would warrant some bastardizing of the product set. But that's a super common phrase over the years. We're unique.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, so that's me in IT. And then outside of IT, I've got 3 kids who are 26, 25, and 20. So one of whom lives with me and works on
Trying to work out how old you are 1 second.
old. Yeah, I'm old. Yeah, my youngest lives with me and works on an IT help desk. So it's funny. I listen to him all day talking about IT, and solving the kind of problems that I solve as well. So it's fun and games. And then outside of that, my two big passions are music. As I mentioned at the beginning, but also going to gigs and listening to music, got a vinyl collection, all that sort of stuff. And then fitness, CrossFit, trail running, obstacle course racing. I've just signed up to my first ultra obstacle course
Which one's
race
that
this
one?
year, a Spartan.
Is that down? I saw an advert on LinkedIn the other day. Oh, some guy was doing it. I sort of bookmarked it. And you can do different levels. You can either do like the shorter version or
Yep,
have they got yellow bands on the head? Is that what it
yep,
is?
yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you're doing that one. It's April, June time or something.
No, not till October, the ultra, but there are shorter
Oh,
distances that you can do other times in the year.
trying to find
Um,
when it is. But yeah, I'm keen for I did an event which they don't do anymore called Tough Guy. That was my first. The one we
oh,
placed in January.
man, that
So
was madness where
you ever do it?
you had to break the ice
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. One
yeah,
of the years, I wasn't the front runner. I was probably about 40, 50 back or something. And the front runners were like literally like breaking the ice with their elbows and their shins. And like they were bleeding just from that. And then obviously they broke it for me, so I was cool. But yeah,
absolutely
that was
brutal.
good. But they don't do it anymore. The guy sold the land,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
But that was always a nice slap in the face in January, like getting over Christmas. It's just like going in. I remember one year I did it, and it was my first year, and I'm all like jovial and stuff. And we're going around the track, and then there's a American or Canadian guy talking to his son. I'll do a bad accent now. And everyone's laughing and cheering. And he says, "Oh, the fun and games are good now, but after the tunnels, this is an American accent, it's terrible." He says the laughter stops. And I was like, "What's this talking about? What's he talking about?" And then when you go in the tunnels, it's your first time, your head fully submerged under the water. Your brain shrivels to the size of a walnut or something, and you're like dazed. And you just saw he was explaining it, and then I saw it and acknowledged what he was explaining. He says after he's talking to his son, he's going around with his son there in front of me. He said when they come out of the tunnels, he said it's like a spaceship crash site or something. And you're like, what do you mean? And basically, everyone's going down, and after that, everyone's got foil blanket. Not everyone, a lot of people, foil blankets, just like trying to work out life. But yeah, that was a good.
it
The
was
first time I
brutal.
completed it, my sister says, "You look grey." I've never been described as grey before, as in not physically. I look grey. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, they're not as bad as that these days, thankfully. Although they are physically very, very tough, for sure. But they're good fun. Yeah. And I think my desert island disc would be Screamadelica by Primal Scream. It was the first gig I ever went to when I was 14, 15, something like that. The album had just been released, so that gives you another clue to my age. Yeah, and they played an outstanding set, and Andy Weatherall was DJing afterwards, and I've seen them 10 times live now, I think. And they're always incredible band, just so much fun. So yeah, there we go.
A question you didn't ask is if you decided to pack it in, IT's gone now, you're done, and your new world starts tomorrow. What are you doing?
Um, Mentoring underprivileged kids. I do a little bit of that on the side anyway, and I absolutely love it. And there's so many kids out there that just don't realize the opportunity that is out there for them, because they're in their own little bubble, no fault of their own. And when you get a chance to tell them how magical they are and what they could be achieving, and see them, choosing a better path, is just incredible. Yeah.
Nice one.
What about you?
You know what? Multiple things. I don't know. I like generally being in and around business. So whether that's at the innovation side or the transformational side, doesn't need to be IT. So I reckon I'd probably be in that space a lot. And or depending on what capacity was looking like physically building, like being around building, like development. That's just like high interest. I like that part so much. It's so binary. This here, put these things together here, and it's this. Versus in IT, it isn't always as as simple.
Yeah.
The putting the blocks together don't always give you the exact outcome. So when you're physically building, is in like I'm putting in screws in the wood and I'm putting the frame up and the plasterboard on, and boom, I did that. I'll go in my bathroom and there's like 1,400 tiles in the bathroom. I laid every single one by hand, and I did that. I don't get that same feeling from IT. So I think I'd be in and around the business space as such broadly, but then from a passionate perspective, some sort of development activity.
Awesome. Wonderful. Right. Thank you very much, my friend. And thank you all for watching. It's been a bit of a snapshot into our lives today, how we got here and some of our experience and a few good stories and things like that. If you want to know more about any of these things, do drop us a message. We're both pretty open. I'm definitely up for a conversation with pretty much anyone, anytime. So drop us a message, and also let us know about you as well. Like who are you in our audience? And let us know if you want to hear more of this type of stuff, or what you do want to hear more of. And of course, if you want to be a guest, and then we can ask you some of these questions too. It's wonderful. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Bye.